Well, I'm gonna start with you, Samantha, on everything. Other than when do you sleep, we would like to know what keeps you motivated? Because I know that, I mean, all those long hours and like taking those extra classes and all that, I mean, there has to be times where it gets hard. So what keeps you going and everything else?
What really keeps me going is I want to inspire others. I want at least one person to say, because of you, I followed my dreams. So therefore, every day I strive to make sure that I'm inspiring at least one person. So if anybody becomes rich and famous, right, because of what I talked about, y'all holler at me, right? I want my compensation later.
All right, and Bill and Keith, thank you guys for our bunnies. I already named mine. It was George Bunnington, and she named hers Cornelius. So, but what we want to know from you guys is, what do you do when you get stuck in the engineering process, and how do you figure things out when you hit that wall?
Well, that does happen. Sometimes you can go out to see what other people have done, whether you watch Mythbusters or some show like that that has a lot of engineering in it. You can get inspiration from that. Other times you just sit and you think, maybe you read, you look through a technical magazine, you look for inspiration anywhere. And sometimes it's amazing where inspiration will come from. It can be, watching one of those shows, or, when you're in the shower. It's impossible to predict, but that's one of the ways I do it. Keith, how do you?
Well, even with Victor, we had several issues that we went down several paths that didn't work. So, when you're doing an engineering project, failure will happen. That's how you learn. Mm-hmm. And so you just have to, when you hit that block, recognize it and say, all right, what can I learn about this? Is there another way I can get around it? How do you move around whatever's blocking you? The mechanism that tilts Victor right now is not the first one we built. We spent, at least a couple days.
Oh, it was 2 full days.
2 full days building a mechanism that in the end didn't work. So at the end of that second day, you kind of pull your hair out, you go to bed at night, and you think about it, and you come back the next day, and it's like, oh, this is how we solved that. And that one goes away, the new one goes on, and works great.
Right, and testing is really a big part of what we do. Mm-hmm. You saw 1% of the testing that we went through. And it does take a lot of perseverance, and it takes a lot of dedication. You can't just give up a couple of times after something doesn't work. You have to really work at it sometimes to make it function.
Great. Ben, what is the electronic device that is your absolute favorite?
Oh, it's like asking me which is my favorite kid. I would have, can I cheat and say the internet?
I mean,
because
no.
I have anything that lets me get on the internet and learn more.
Okay.
So, because that's the main thing. As long as I can figure, I mean, like they said, you get stuck and then you go look and see what did somebody else do, and they're like, oh, that's brilliant. I'm gonna do that too.
Okay. Do we have questions?
We got a few questions. Yeah, the first is from Hannah Blaine Silbo. This is for anyone on the panel. When was the first moment that you realized what you wanted to do, whether it was engineering, business, anything along those lines?
I think I realized in school that I wanted to be in business, because I just wanted to I wanted to tell other people what to do. No, I just always knew from young. I was 3 years old, I lived in Chicago, and I had a lemonade stand in the dead of winter. So I knew then that something was different about me, and I always wanted to be in business.
I still don't know.
Yeah, I'm with Ben. I have no idea what I want to do.
I remember I grew up, when I was 6, 7 years old, I was already building things. But up until a junior in high school, I wanted to be a vet, because I really love animals. But then I took a physics course and found out, wow, you can take this knowledge and do some really cool things. And that's when I built the tower. And I thought, building is a lot of fun. Fortunately, I survived the tower. It could have easily killed me. When you're 18, you're invincible, but you couldn't point a gun at me and make me climb up that tower now.
Right.
But that's when I really started realizing, hey, engineering is pretty cool, and I can do a lot of fun things with it.
Awesome.
All right, guys, keep sending them in. The next one is at WStone98. How important is reputation in the workplace? Does it make a difference in making your ideas a reality?
Well, I think to make your ideas a reality, if you're looking for other people to come along, you kind of have to demonstrate success. You have to stick with it and produce some things. It's not about what you know, what have other people shown you and taught you? It's what can you do? And if you prove that you can build things, you can make things happen, you can get things done and bring things to reality, people will follow you. They'll recognize that.
The next question is from @Samuel T. Shimwell. Where do you find your inspiration, or where do you find your problem to solve?
Well, I know for my inspiration, I just think about what would be fun to do, and then I think about, you know, can I really get away with doing that, and then do I have the money and the resources to pull it off? Those can be kind of restricting at times, but I just think about what would really be fun to do, and then I go out and try to do it. Not everything I've built has worked. In fact, probably, well, I don't know, I'd say that the majority of things I've built haven't worked, but there's a big percentage of things that don't work, but you learn from those things, and I just do what I have fun with. I think Keith is the same way.
Yeah, and you know, look at the world around you, and it can be the smallest thing that will catch your attention. Like the reason the robot is named Victor is because we're looking at it one day and say, you know what, that looks like an old-time phonograph stuck on the front of it.
Yeah, the old
And
Victrola.
what were the names they used for that? One of them was Victrola, so Victor. And so inspiration can come from, like I said, the smallest sources.
At the Hackerspace, we frequently come up with some of our ideas at like 2 in the morning while laying around going, hey, wouldn't this be cool? So, for example, one gentleman was there and he said, I want a taco, but I don't want to get up. We should build a device that will make and fire a taco so that I don't have to get up. And the taco cannon exploded in a fantastic, glorious mess. I had taco in my hair, but it was awesome.
I think I get inspired when I'm driving, right? I'll be driving, all of a sudden something to come to me, and it'll be like, oh my God, I gotta pull over right now. And so I swing through traffic and pull over, and I write down my idea. I do a lot of problem solving with Google. I Google everything. I always want to know what other ideas, what other things are out there. So Google solves every problem it seems like. So that's where I get my inspiration, how I solve my problems.
The next one is from @TonyKid5. What is the worst thing to happen during a build? Bill?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, let's put aside the physical injuries that happen. We have had, you know, you do get cut and scratched. Gosh, the worst thing that's ever happened? Well, I've a long time ago, when I was first building things, I spent 2 or 3 weeks, you know, 15, 20 hours sometimes a day working on something for 2 weeks in a row, and then you get to the end of it and it doesn't work. That's very difficult to deal with, emotionally, psychologically, physically. It's very frustrating. So failure is a big part of engineering. If there was no failure, people wouldn't do R&D, research and development, testing. So failure is a big thing that we have to deal with a lot.
Things break too. I mean, not just failure because of your design, but the equipment. You can overstress the equipment may not perform up to spec, and so you know, whenever you have failure, that can always be a disappointment. And sometimes it's spectacular, which is the best kind.
Well, yeah, it depends your point of view. But you've got to learn how to deal with it. Failure is not bad. Failure is a learning point. But you got to be able to pick yourself up and go on afterwards.
The next one's from Amy Grant, KET. What community partnerships have you all forged that have made you all successful?
Oh yeah, I can talk about this for hours. So being an educational nonprofit and heavily community engaged, we partnered with as many people as we can in Louisville. So we've donated some 3D printers and done workshops at the local libraries. We've partnered with the Small Business Association to get startups going, and we partnered recently with the fire department to build a cheap, low-cost wireless device that will detect fires in homes that are not occupied, so that the fire department can know about them before that house burns down and catches the house next to it on fire, and it begins to become a larger problem. Really, just if you could reach out to other organizations and say, hey, we build cool stuff. What cool stuff do you want to build? You'll find all sorts of people who jump on board with that, and you make all sorts of interesting synergies. I hate to use the buzzword, but it applies. And you can, like, we volunteered with Newton Zadig more than once. These guys are awesome. They build some really cool stuff. They teach some really cool courses, and so it just helps spread the love, the maker love.
Yeah, Newton's Attic works with a lot of schools, particularly where we're located in Lexington, so we do a lot with Fayette County, but we work all over the state. Obviously, we're here today. The ballista you saw travels all over the state. We've blown up pumpkins from one end of the state to the other. G-Force comes to Louisville every fall for the Maker Fair. You can actually come to Louisville. It's usually in late September, and you can actually ride it. It's a lot of fun. We work with a lot of community groups like the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and individual youth organizations, all sorts of things like that.
University of Louisville this year is a new partnership.
We have a good relationship with U of L. We do a lot of things with University of Kentucky, and different organizations like that.
I think the next question's from Taylor Douglas. If you could change this for everyone, if you could change one thing about your career, what would it be? Or would you change?
I would have started earlier. I waited too late. I sat on my idea for 3 years before I really made a big move on it. So if I could change anything, I would have started early, way earlier, and got things going. So that would I would have changed.
Yeah, that's a good point. Probably the biggest thing I'd do, I'd take more risk.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we sometimes when you're actually trying to run a business and make it work, when you've got overhead, you got rent you got to pay, you've got employees you have to pay, you tend to get very tight with the money. But that's not a very good business strategy. You have to be able to lay that money out, risk it, know that it's going to do well, and then reap the rewards of that.
I think early in my career, I thought that the only way to get started in a career was to go to work for a big company. And I think I would probably change that. I think I would have looked more for the startup, starting my own business. You got to get out there and learn skills and learn how business works and whatever you're passionate about, how to make money doing that. But I think early in my career, I thought the only way was the Fortune 500 route. And I think it's proven otherwise as I've gotten older.
There were two things that I would change. One, I'd pay more attention in math class, to be honest, because I find more and more it applies to the things I want to do. Like, there's a lot of math that goes into building a trebuchet that chucks a frozen turkey into 7th Street. So you don't go into 7th Street and hit a car. And the other thing I would have focused on is learning more social skills, being better at writing, because I was a young nerd, and I was just all about the programming, and I didn't care about anything else. And learning how to speak to people and be comfortable working with others and build good working relationships would have been very beneficial if I'd started earlier.
The next question's from Olivia Rahm, which is directed to Samantha. What was your favorite dance class?
Oh my goodness. I have a few, all right, and I can't believe you asked me that. My favorite one, I would say right now, is hip hop, because I have a niece and she knows all the real dance moves, and I be wanting to learn them too. So then I'll go to hip hop class so I can learn them, and then so I'll be like dabbing and all that type of stuff. So I would say that's my favorite class right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The next one's from Kaylin J. It says, what modern day technology inspires you the most to make creative items? Was it an iPad, VCR, electric car, phones, etc.?
Oh gosh, well, believe it or not, YouTube is a good tool. But everything you can do, you don't have to have the fanciest tools. Victor was built, I guess the highest tech thing we used was the CNC machine.
Yeah, which is a home-built CNC that,
Yeah, but you don't have to have the latest and greatest tools to do all the things that we build. A drill press, a bandsaw, a belt sander, some hand tools. Learn how to use those tools, and you'd be amazed what you can do with it. Now, it's not really sexy. It's not a 3D printer. It's not a laser engraver like these guys got down here. But at least you're learning about engineering, you're building, and you're creating, and you're learning.
For me, it's the Arduino. It's hard to. It's hard for me to put into words just how incredibly amazing this thing is. When I figured it out, for $15, I can listen to the world and I can talk to the world in ways that I'd never been able to do before. You can listen for sound, or you can make sound. You can, detect motion. You can detect water. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. So, a friend of mine's basement flooded, and his response was to put an Arduino with a moisture sensor down there and hook it up so that he now gets an alert if his basement gets moist. It just solves so many problems. And I could be here for an hour trying to think of just half the ones that I've seen people do with Arduino.
We may have time for one more question. The guys keep coming them in with the hashtag. They'll be able to look back and kind of see and answer questions potentially as they go. But the last one for everybody is from Amelia Adkins. And how do you deal with the rejection that came with your success? So I guess for each person that kind of comes down the line.
When I lost for Idea State U, right, top prize was $30,000, I was so mad. I grabbed all my stuff. I stormed out, and then my mentors asked me if I wanted ice cream. And then I got happy all over again. So ice cream makes me very, very happy. Like, I treat myself. If I have a bad day, I get discouraged, something doesn't go right, like, I literally go get sweets. So I want to say that that's how I cope with it. And then I work out in my hip-hop class.
I guess the worst thing that I would fear is that I build a machine like the Ballista or G-Force, and some kid rides and goes, oh man, that sucked, I don't want to do that again. And that does happen. It happens a few times. I'll have 50 kids ride it, and they love it. And then one kid says, oh, that's terrible, I don't want to do that again. And that'll bother you for days, or used to when I first started. That one incident will erase the first 50 good ones. But you just realize, you can't be all things to all people. Let him, not everything is for everybody. None of these, not everybody wants to be an engineer, that's great. Not everybody's going to want to blow something up or make a candy robot, and that's fine. You just, you don't worry about it anymore. After time, the first few times it hurts, but you get used to it as you get older and it goes on.
All right, guys, that's all the time we're going to have for questions today. Keep having those questions come in. They'll be able to look at them a little bit later.